Only 2. Did you all get that? It's up on the board if you didn't. All right, so now we're going to look at a 45, 45, 90 triangle. Do those angle measures work? 45, 45, 90. Do those add up to 180? Okay. So this is going to come to you one of 2 ways. What do you know? If these 2 angles are congruent, what do you know? The triangle has 2 congruent angles. Pardon? It has 2 congruent sides. And where would those congruent sides be? The legs. This is going to be congruent to that. So a 45, 45, 90 triangle is isosceles. So I just want to make sure you understand that they might only give you the right angle, but they may mark these sides. And if they mark these sides, if these sides are congruent, those angles are congruent, and if that's 90, we only have 90 degrees left, so that had to be split. Okay? So you'll either be given 145 or you're going to be given marked sides. If this is x, what does this side have to be? No, if this is x and this, then you have these 2. Why does that have to be x? Because they're congruent. And what do you want to call this side? H for hypotenuse. In fact, we'll say HYP. So now, what theorem can we use? Okay, how does that look? Legs squared, I like that, plus legs squared equals hypotenuse squared. What's one leg? What's the other leg? What's the hypotenuse? Hypotenuse. So we'll keep it that way. Now, this is 1x squared, and this is 1x squared. So how many x squareds do we have? 2x squared is equal to your hypotenuse squared. So I need you all to catch up. There are 2 special right triangles. 8-2 still. This is still 8-2. Now, we're solving for the hypotenuse, and it is squared. How do we undo a square? So if I square root this side, algebra 2, what do we get? Plus or minus. Which one do we choose? Okay, in algebra 2, is that going to be the case? You will need both. So your now, does anything simplify underneath here? What was multiplied by itself? If in doubt, what does x squared mean? X times x. What now? Do you see it? What was multiplied by itself? X. So this is going to be x square root of 2. That is the hypotenuse. So once you get that finished, let me know. We're going to go back up to our picture, and I'll let you know what your tomorrow's quiz is going to be. Oh, I can't give you a quiz tomorrow.
Why?
Because we're testing.
What? What's the football quiz before that?
I could do that.
Yeah, do that.
So when we get to the career lab, we're going to do a really quick quiz. I'll show you. It's going to be... All right. So this hypotenuse is x square root of 2. So what do you have to do tomorrow? You have to label the legs x and the hypotenuse x square root of 2. What else do you have to do tomorrow? The 30, 60, 91 again. So you have today's quiz plus this picture. Now, it took you 60 seconds to do today's quiz. It'll probably take you 120 seconds to do tomorrow's quiz. That's 2 minutes. Yes.
All we're doing is filling it x and
Yes.
x square root 2.
Yes.
45 as well as
Yes.
x.
Yes. Okay? So are you all with me? Yeah, label the 45, 45. All right, so if the process is identical to yesterday, I expect to see, and you're in the book now, I expect to see a picture, diagram per picture. So look, draw a diagram, label the sides in terms of x, place the number on the given side, write an equation, and substitute. Those are the exact same directions as yesterday. The only difference is our triangle has what? Changed. If this is 45, what is this? Okay, so what are these? What's this side? Top x, x, hypotenuse. Okay, so what were we given? AB is what? So AB is right here. AB is 5. What's your equation? X equals 5. Is there any solving to be done?
No.
All right, so BC happens to be x, therefore it is what? And AC happens to be x square root of 2, so it's going to be 5 square root of 2. This is much easier. Why do I say this is easier than the one we did before?
Because there's only one thing that you have to plug in.
There are two x's. Yeah, right, right. So anyway, so this is why I did not do this one first, because I didn't want you to expect that 2 of the 3 sides were going to be x. If you can do the 30, 60, 90, then this is a piece of cake.
Wait, so how do you know it's going to be X?
I'll show you. Here we go. The legs are the what? What is this? What is this? Hypotenuse is x square root of 2.
So both edges of the hypotenuse are always going to be
The hypotenuse in a 45, 45, 90 triangle is always x squared root of 2, which makes the legs x. So now what am I going to put? AC equals 18. AC, I put 18 on this side. What is my equation? Right. So our x squared root of 2 equals 18. How do we disconnect? Divide by, what's connected to x? Square root of 2. So we're going to divide by square root of 2. Is there work to be done on the right side? Yes. What do we do? Why are we not doing square root of 3 like yesterday? MJ, back to your seat. Then take the Kleenex with you. All right. Why am I not doing square root of 3 here? Because this is what? Square root of 2. So if I multiply the bottom by square root of 2, I multiply the top by? Okay, so what was multiplied by itself? Okay, what's square root of 2 times square root of 2? Square root of 4. What's the square root of 4? 2. So this is going to be 18 square root of 2 over 2, which is what? 9 square root of 2. How did he get that? 2 divided 18. 9 times. Can't cancel those because that's under the root. From here, it gets boring. AB happens to be x. What is x? 9 square root of 2. BC happens to be x. What is BC? 9 square root of 2. So I'm going to draw this picture. I want to rotate it differently. So this, oh darn. So this time I'm going to give you this. If I mark 2 sides with the right angle, what do you know this angle is? And what about this one? Okay, so what is this side? X square root of 2 because it's the what? Hypotenuse. What is this? X. What is this? Triangles just seem to be a whole lot more special than any other figure. All right. Where do we put this 7? Oh, I didn't label my, this is B, this is A. Where do I put my 7? The bottom? So what's my equation? Is there any equation solving to be done? No. So what is AB? It's x, therefore it is. What is AC? It's x square root of 2, therefore it is. I can't make it any harder. You like this one better? But you have to know them both. Let's go back to the 30, 60, 90 for a minute. Okay? Pardon? Let's go back. 30, 60, 90. What's opposite 30? What's opposite 60? What's opposite 90? Okay, so now that you have both of them, only one of them has a root on the hypotenuse. But my question to you is, who is bigger? Who is bigger? Square root of 3 or 2? Now, that's square root of 3, not 3. 2 is bigger. Square root of 3 is approximately 1.7-ish. Okay? 2 is definitely what? So, if you start to get confused, do you remember, and you did very well on this part of the last test, this is the small angle, correct? What should be opposite the small angle? The smallest side. And what can you tell me about 1 versus square root of 3 versus 2? It's the smallest. All right, what should be opposite 60, which is the medium angle? The medium one, x square root of 3. What should be opposite the largest angle? The very biggest number, which is 2x. Similarly, if we look at this, that's a 1 and that's a 1. Who's bigger, 1 or square root of 2? Square root of 2 is approximately 1.4-ish. So the 45s match, and they should be smaller than the larger side. So that might help if you start to get confused. Think about that. All right, so there's a you try, and I think that's the end of my notes. So why don't you try, I want you to try 2. I want you to try 2, and then we can go back and do more problems on the homework. And I think we'll have about 6 or 8 minutes to do that. Wait. I need you quiet, though. Which one am I doing, Caitlin? 19. So we're back to 30, 60, 90, which is good because you have to work with both of them. And tonight, it's a mixture because we're into the book. We've got this to be 60, this to be 30. Opposite 30 is? Opposite 60? And opposite 90? All right, they told us that this side is 3. What's my equation? Okay, so I really want to see these equations, and I'm not seeing them on some of your papers. How do we solve for x if that's multiply? So we're going to divide by square root of 3. All right, so that's going to be x equals. You cannot cancel those 3's. That's whole, that's not. So when we have a radical in the denominator, we multiply the bottom by it and the top. So your top is 3 square root of 3. What's square root of 3 times square root of 3? Square root of 9. What's square root of 9? So now we've got 3 square root of 3 over 3. These are both outside the radical. Those can be simplified. So your x is square root of 3. So if x is square root of 3, then that means this side is square root of 3, and this side is, it's going to be 2 times square root of 3, or what? 2 square root of 3. You can't multiply an outside number times an inside number. You can only play inside with inside and outside with outside. 17 said, so I don't want you to see these problems and see a radical and panic. All right? Don't want you to go there. That's a square root. So on 17, we're told this is 30, this is 60, opposite 30. X, opposite 60. X squared root of 3, opposite 90. 2x. What do we put on these sides? They told us that this is 2 square root of 3. This is my equation. 2x equals 2 square root of 3. What do we do? Caitlin? Divide by 2. So what happens to the left side, right side, when I divide by 2? They're both outside, they simplify. So x is square root of 3, which means this side is square root of 3, and this side is going to be square root of 3 times square root of 3, which is square root of 9, which is 3. Any others? Okay, 8. If we look at 8 quickly, we've got 60, we've got 30, which makes this x square root of 3, and this is 2x. They told us that this is 7, so we have to solve. So my x is 7/2, which makes this side 7/2. And in order to get this side over here, that's going to be x square root of 3. I put 7/2 in for x. It's going to be 7/2 square root of 3. Looking at 14, 14 has been turned this way. And we've got this to be 60. Kayla, I'm going to finish it. This is x. This is x square root of 3. This is 2x. I need your papers put on this desk over here. 14 told us that this side is square root of 6. So what that means is x is the square root of 6. So here, I'm going to do square root of 6 times square root of 3. 6 is 2 times 3, and then I've got my 3. So I've got what was multiplied by itself, 3. So that side's 3 square root of 2. I put my square root of 6 in for x. That side's 2 square root of 6.